Each spring, I really enjoy going to my favorite nurseries and garden centers to see what kind of new plants they have available. Well, today we're here at TLC Greenhouses to talk to Linda Horn. Hello, Linda.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Welcome to our program. Linda does her
me.
own gardening show. It's called Let's Talk Gardening with TLC.
Yes, and it's on Saturday mornings at 8 o'clock.
That's great.
Right, yeah.
Well, Linda, what have you got to show us here today?
Well, Steve, TLC, as you know, we really try to keep up with a lot of the new varieties of plant materials. Sometimes that's not not that easy, but
Sure.
but we do try. And this year, I'm real excited about the varieties that we do have, and be happy to share some of them with you.
Absolutely.
This has been out for actually a couple of years, the verbascums, which I really like, and they seem to tolerate the heat real well. They do like very good drainage, so you have to put them in an area that drains real well. And there's also, this one's called Jackie, and the color, it actually comes out with a lot more color once it really starts getting some heat on it, and we really haven't had enough yet to get it going. But it also makes a great cut flower, so you can cut them and bring them indoors. Another one we have is the Caribbean Crush, which is another verbascum, and
Okay.
beautiful leaves, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they're
I mean,
so,
they're real nice and pubescent, and
soft and fuzzy.
the colors on the flower are just incredible, almost like a sunrise. Just goes through the gamut of yellows and corals and all those colors. Just real pretty flower, and they make beautiful spikes, and again, great cut flowers.
Good cottage garden flower.
Excellent cottage
Yeah.
garden flower, right? But make sure they get really good drainage.
This is an interesting plant here with the large leaf.
This is a really terrific plant. It's a baby right now. We just started them, but I thought they'd be worth mentioning. It's a golden parasols. It's a pedicedus, and it makes a lot of people love water gardening, and it makes a really good bog plant. So if you have a wet area, and it does like some shade, it does have a tendency to melt a little bit if it gets too much sun. But the color that comes out in it is almost a chartreuse green, so it's very, very pretty.
Butterbur is what we call that.
Butterbur,
up at
yeah.
Stillwater.
Real
And this
pretty
is
plant.
a begonia here in with all your perennials. So what's the story with this?
Well, it's a semperflorens, and most people know them as wax begonias. And the wax begonias, you have to plant new ones every year because they do usually die back to the ground. Sometimes you'll get them to come back. But this one is actually hardy to 0 degrees, so
Okay.
it should be something that that might work out for folks as a perennial.
On a lot of winters or in a protected spot, probably a lot of winters here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Well, this looks like a hellebore, but it's got gorgeous foliage. Is that what we've got here?
That's a hellebore, and it's Janet Starnes, which is a real pretty one. It gets a kind of a creamy white flower very, very early in the spring. And of course, with the hellebores, they're coming out with so many new varieties of them that run the gamut of deep, almost black purple to kind of spotted type flowers. But this one is really interesting because the foliage is variegated, and it is an evergreen.
Great.
Most of the hellebores are, and they do great in Oklahoma.
Beautiful white flowers go with that almost white foliage.
And if you notice, sometimes it has a little bit of a pink tinge to the leaf, so it's almost a kind of like tricolor, I suppose.
Neat. And here's another variegated plant we've got right here.
I love the variegated plants because, especially in fairly shaded areas, which most of them really need to be, it really brightens up those spots. So this is actually a strawberry. It's an ornamental strawberry, and even when it's not in flower, it's quite beautiful because the leaves have that pretty variegation on them. They stay real low, make a nice ground cover.
That is attractive. I see you've got some of the coral bells and
they're my
tiarellas.
favorite. Yep, I love these plants, and for those of you who have shady areas or semi-shaded areas, they do very nicely. Another variegated one is the Heronswood Mist, and if you look real close, you can almost see a little bit of pink in that leaf.
Yeah.
The tiarellas are real pretty, Steve, because they have a tendency to kind of creep along the ground and fill in those little nooks. And the heucheras, which are, oh my gosh, I don't know even how many varieties there are of heucheras. Now there's got to be about 200 or 300, maybe more. But this one is Mardi Gras, which the leaves are real spectacular. They have a little bit of coral and burgundy kind of mixed in, and the flowers on some of the colored foliages are not real significant,
Sure.
but they're still pretty, and they show up
Absolutely.
nicely on the foliage.
More for the foliage than for the flowers.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
some of them do actually have
Right.
nice flowers, but the foliage, I think, also is the real reason for growing those plants.
And you know, if you think about it, if you mix some of these dark foliage heucheras in with like the chartreuse hostas, some of those are really nice combinations.
Good combinations.
This is a cross between heuchera and tiarellas. So it's like, it would almost be like taking one of these and crossing it with one of those heucheras. And this one's called chocolate lace. And if you look at the flowers, they're real beautiful. They have kind of a combination of deep rose to almost a white color. And they are loaded with flowers. And the neat thing about this particular plant is that chocolate-colored foliage with the white flowers, just really nice contrast.
Good combination there. Well, see, you've got a nice columbine here. This one, I guess, is grown more for the foliage also.
Right.
Beautiful white flowers as well, but lime green foliage, lime frost
Right.
is the cultivar, I guess.
Sometimes gets a little bit more golden in the center part of the leaves, and so it really shows up. And again, if you combine them with some of the other things like the chocolate leaf, the chocolate lace heucherella, or something like a blue hosta, really make a nice combination.
Good combination. And I see you've got some nice hardy geraniums here also.
This one's called Stanhoe, which is a little bit more heat tolerant than most of them are, which they pretty well do nicely here anyway. But what's nice about this one, has a dark green leaf and a very pale pink flower. So when it's covered with flowers, which they usually are mid to late spring, they're really quite spectacular. And sorry.
I love that silver foliage.
Oh, it's beautiful, yeah.
And this one is
Dresden pink.
Dresden pink. You can see the flower color that this one will have a little bit later on.
And it also gets a little bit of variegation. It's still a young plant, but it gets a little bit of deep color veination in the leaf, so it really shows up nicely.
Oh, okay, yeah, you can see some of that purple coming along. And then you've got a
Right.
variegated one over
This
here.
is really pretty. It's a variegated hardy geranium, and beautiful purple flowers, and like I said, it's just covered. And one trick with keeping the hardy geraniums blooming all summer long is to keep them trimmed back.
Okay.
When they get a little bit leggy, cut them back to about a quarter of their size, and then fertilize them with some Miracle Grow or something like that. A liquid feed is a good boost.
And you're talking, cut the foliage and everything.
Right, cut the foliage right back, and you can just, well, of course, these aren't leggy yet, but
Sure.
Sometimes they do have a tendency to get, some of the varieties, a little bit leggy. Cut them back and they'll fill out and rebloom for you. They do real well.
Well, we'll have to try that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Linda.
Well, thank you. It's
We're
been an
going to
honor.
go over now and talk to Christy about some of the new greenhouse plants. We're here with Christy Rutland, Assistant Greenhouse Manager at TLC. And Christy, what have you got to show us here for some of these tender plants?
We have all kinds of new begonias, coleuses, various different things. First of all, we have new sun coleuses. These are the stained glass series.
Okay.
This one's called Tilt-A-Whirl, and it gets fairly tall, and it has a nice little, looks like a Tilt-A-Whirl type.
Kind of a swirling
Yeah.
pattern through the leaves.
And then this one is stained glass Oompa.
Okay.
It's a little bit different, nice colors to it. Now these are sun coleus, but that doesn't mean they won't go in the shade too.
Okay,
So they'll go
great.
either way.
Great.
Our other stained glass series is Molten Lava. This is actually my favorite. Gets lots of red tones to it and pink tones to it. Gets fairly tall, but does wonderful sun or shade.
You got a really dark one right here, I see.
Yes. Now this one's not in the stained glass series, but this is called Dark Star. It's another sun coleus. Again, it's really nice. It looks wonderful if you put it, say, with a lime color.
Oh, yeah.
It gives it a really nice contrast.
Good combination.
And then we also have Kiwi Fern sun coleus.
Very finely divided leaves on that one.
Exactly. And you know, the different colors that are in it, you can do so many different colors with it and draw out different looks. So that's a nice one. And then we also have Florida Sunsplash.
Oh,
It's
that
a
is
nice bright splash. would definitely brighten up a dark area.
Absolutely. I see an impatiens right
Yes.
there. It has really tiny flowers.
This is Little Lizzie. There's various different colors in this. This is a lavender color. There's also pinks and kind of salmon-y colors and some whites. Very small flowers, but it gets very covered in
More
the flowers.
flowers,
Yeah.
more of them, even though they're smaller.
They're gorgeous.
Okay, so you've got a group of Gerbera daisies here. Some
Yes.
really bright colors.
This is a part of a new series. It's called the Jaguar series. Yellows, pinks, oranges, various different shades of oranges, cream colors, whites, things like that.
Okay.
Seem to be more bold in the color
Oh,
for a
they
Gerbera.
certainly are bright. The
Mhm.
Jaguar Gerberas. Well, back here's an interesting plant, Christy. What do we got here?
This is Scalanthus. It's also, the common name for it is an eyeball plant.
Okay.
Do it in morning sun, afternoon shade. Has very unusual flowers to it that actually kind of look like an eyeball.
I've also heard that called toothache plant before
I've
because
never
of
heard
the healing or the numbing quality of some of the compounds
Oh.
in the leaves.
That's very different.
We got some more begonias back here.
Yes, we have some new angel Linda Dawn.
Okay.
Is this one. And then we've got another angel wing begonia on the other side.
This one right back here.
Now these begonias you definitely want to do in the shade. They're not the sun-loving kind like the bronze waxleaf. Now this one is called Hot Tamale.
Okay, well you can definitely see where they get the name angel wing because of these wing-shaped leaves.
And they
that the
put on
plants have.
pretty little flowers, not an extreme amount, but enough to give it some show. It's a striking
Absolutely.
plant.
Well, this plant back here that you showed us the contrast with earlier, this nice lime green colored foliage plant, what's
This is
what's
a type
one?
of Dracaena. It's actually a house plant, but you can use it in a very shady garden. It's called Limelight Dracaena. If you've got a very dark area, that will definitely stand out. Definitely brighten
That would look
things.
good as a container plant, maybe on,
Yes.
on a shady patio.
A patio plant, or even in a container out in the garden. You know,
Okay.
just as kind of something to contrast.
Well, to finish up, Christy, right down here, I know a lot of people are going to be interested in the new varieties of ornamental sweet potatoes that you guys are carrying this year. Can you tell me a little bit about these different cultivars?
Yeah, these are all Sweet Caroline series. This one is the bright green. Looks very similar to the
Margarita?
margarita, only the leaf shape's slightly different. This one is a bronze one. It's also Sweet Caroline series. Not as dark as a blackie by any stretch of the imagination. Definitely has that kind of different leaf pattern to it.
Okay. And
And
then the
then-
darker purple one?
The purple one, which is Sweet Caroline purple.
Okay. And that's about the color of blackie, I think. Maybe
Yeah.
a little darker, but definitely a different shape to the leaves. And it's my understanding that that this one doesn't get as vigorous
Right.
in the garden. It doesn't
Right.
take over like the margarita does.
Right, where the margarita will go out 20 feet. And
This one's a
never
little better
stop.
behaved. Okay. All right. Well, Christy, I sure appreciate you showing us all these plants.
Thank you.